that the Biden administration used the FBI to spy on the private communications of Republican U.S. senators, myself included. This was a blatant assault on our constitutional rights. Oh man, as elected officials.
The fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans.
Uh-oh.
How does that not get to the court? Can you tell me how that doesn't get to the court? You can't, can you?
I can't, Senator, and I
Can
can't.
you tell me why my phone record?
Pam is laughing right here. Jack Smith and the Democrats busted. We saw Chuck Grassley posted this, releasing this one document that has a lot of implications, singling out the fact that the Biden administration, the Biden DOJ, Jack Smith, the entire lawfare apparatus, went hog wild to go and investigate anybody who could even be closely connected to Trump because they were trying to take out the political party that they detested. And so Grassley released this. We're going to take a closer look at the document itself, but here's what he posted over here on his Senate site. He said, you know, the Biden FBI, they spied on 8 Republicans, and they were Republican senators as part of the Arctic frost investigation. Grassley's Oversight reveals. He says, all right, this is an explosive document, America, obtained by Chuck Grassley over from Iowa. And he reveals that the FBI targeted 8 Republican senators, their personal cell phones, going after them. Some senators like, what? What do you mean my personal cell phone? Yeah, no, your personal cell phone, Lindsey Graham, for tolling data as part of its Arctic frost investigation. Now, one Republican member of the House of Representatives was also impacted. All Republicans, interesting. Now, the Arctic frost investigation formed the basis of Jack Smith's electors case, which was ultimately thrown out because Jack Smith is an illegitimate prosecutor. He was completely illegally and unlawfully appointed and should have never been in there first place. Now, the FBI in 2023 sought and got data from the senators' cell phones from January 4th to January 7th, 2021. A lot of senators are like, where was I? Was I in one of my foreign, affairs little field trips or somewhere? I'm wondering where they were. Now, this document was found in a prohibited access file in response to Grassley's oversight request. So they buried it, something you couldn't even look at. Grassley's oversight exposed the entire existence of this prohibited access files, which was a file system that was basically secret. The FBI limits access to certain documents by making some files inaccessible. Like you search for them, it doesn't say we searched and we found 0 and return 0. Actually, it probably does that, but it does exist. Okay, so they're just saying, actually, you can't even search it. It's prohibited. So you look, is there anything in here about this? No, there's nothing in there because you believe that the query is searching and prompting all of the data, but it's not. Now they're getting scrutinized, and Lindsey Graham's probably sweating. He says he got hit. Bill Haggerty, Josh Hawley, Dan Sullivan, Tommy Tuberville, Ron Johnson, a bunch of these individuals coming up, Cynthia Loomis, Marsha Blackburn, and Mike Kelly, right? Sitting senators. And they also, by the way, gobbled up Trump's cell phone. You remember that? The FBI's Arctic frost investigation was opened in April 2022 by Timothy Thibault, the corrupt, in my opinion, former anti-Trump FBI agent who hated Trump and weaponized his office to go after the president and his political opponents, anybody who aligned with him. In November, after Trump announced he was running, then they just gave that entire file that was created by the Biden corrupt FBI and DOJ by this dude who was out trying to target Trump, and they just put it in a big box and they gave it over to Jack Smith. And then Jack Smith is like, I'm a special counsel. I'm independent and I'm going to do my own investigation. Like, that's the whole point, right? You don't just get to like copy and paste your partisan opponent's homework and call it your unique work product. It's not. He just took it, ran with it, colluded with the Biden administration. Okay. So they were the ones running the whole thing. They tried to outsource. No, it's a special counsel. He's independent. He came over from Europe or whatever. And the whole thing was just inherited because it was a political attack, obviously. Now that was in November. Then they appointed Jack Smith. New disclosures to Grassley earlier this year revealed that the FBI also got the government cell phone records of President Trump and Mike Pence. They went and got their government cell phones. Officials in the Biden White House personally assisted the FBI in getting those materials because this was a political attack. FBI agents used taxpayer dollars to travel the country, and they conducted dozens of interviews in support of the political probe, trying to go cast this dragnet over the right. Now, records Grassley made public last month showed the FBI also placed 92 Republican-linked individuals and other groups like Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA, which got scrutinized. These also show more. You can see how long he's been on this: January 30th, February 3rd, underscoring misconduct. And we've talked about this. Remember, there were leaks about a lot of this stuff, and the FBI investigated themselves like, well, I don't know how these all leaks are coming out. And it's just been a disaster. From Just the News, saying bombshell document shows the FBI snooped on Congress, and Democrats were not wanting to talk about this today because they're much too interested in blaming the other side for weaponization, even though they spent 4 years trying to imprison bankrupt and disqualify Trump from all of the election ballots like lunatics. But there's more. Christopher Wray, of course, was also in office at the time, and they were all leading the investigation into President Trump. And they reportedly collected the private phone records of 8 Republicans and 1 GOP House member. And a source familiar with the matter, who declined to be named, told Just the News that the phone record search was conducted pursuant to a grand jury subpoena. Now, what do you need to get that subpoena? Like, are you having the grand jury vote on this? Let's see what they say. Chris Pihota, a former executive assistant director, said, yeah, absolutely. Wray must have been involved in approving this. To move to collect that information, saying he would have been briefed on it, he would have been given his concurrence, no doubt. The once secret FBI record that was dated late September 2023, so the investigation has been going, has the title of CAST Assistance, which is the Bureau's Cell Analyst Survey Team. There you go. Cellular Analyst Survey Team. That's the acronym for CAST. Patel tweeted on Monday this. He said, over here from Cash, we recently uncovered proof that the phone records of U.S. lawmakers were seized for political purposes. That abuse of power ends now. Under my leadership, the FBI will deliver truth and accountability and never again be weaponized against the American people. Fox was reporting Jack Smith tracked private comms and calls of nearly a dozen GOP senators, and they're not happy about this. So here is more. So Svetlana Lokova saying, yeah, remember when all of this happened, Jack Smith was appointed November 18, 2022. And that document was just, you could see, drafted pursuant to Just the News, and the document itself late September 2023, right? So Jack Smith was the one behind it, and he probably approved it. Chris Wray probably approved it. Lots of people approved it. A lot of people are in the pipeline when this thing came down. Now, here's responses to this from a bunch of the Republicans who got hammered by their own government, and it's fun to watch them all come out and see how inappropriate spying is. Isn't that nice? We're like, hey, hello, been screaming about FISA constantly. This is what this is. You're getting spied on without your knowledge, without a warrant, because some FBI agents got, just a grand jury to approve that you need this. And other agents are, finagling the data and the presentation. And I don't know exactly how this went down or how they got these data, how these records, but I hope we find out a lot more. Who made the requests? Where'd they go? What grand jury was it? Who was approving it? All of the things. And so now the Senate, hopefully, is going to get activated. Is this going to make you mad, senators? She says, my statement regarding the Biden administration and the FBI spying on me and my Republican colleagues. Here's what she says. Man, this better be good. Hopefully she's not happy. I'm absolutely appalled. Okay, good start. That the Biden administration used the FBI to spy on the private communications of Republican U.S. senators, myself included. This was a blatant assault on our constitutional rights. Oh, man. As elected officials, which is like, hey, man, we make that same argument with FISA. Okay, so I'm not going to keep screaming FISA constantly, but it's just kind of a little bit of schadenfreude, as they say. Hello. This is what we're talking about. We're not elected officials, but we have constitutional rights too, dang it. And this is a calculated attempt to sabotage the separation of powers. She says, make no mistake, this authoritarian, unconstitutional surveillance and attack on the legislative branch under the Biden administration demands immediate investigation and prosecution. And those responsible must be held accountable. Let's go. And we must ensure this abuse of power can never happen again. All right, so that's a good start from Cynthia Loomis. She's over from Wyoming. All right, nice. Yeah, could you imagine like a Senator Liz Cheney? Oh my goodness. So shout out to Cynthia Loomis for the nice message. Now, Marsha Blackburn also responded to this, and she said this on with Fox, very unhappy about this, saying, we're going to go after Jack Smith, and you know what should happen to him at the very minimum, in addition to being in prison, he should lose his license for unethical misconduct.
Point soon, but we do know it's illegal. We do know it's a violation of our rights. And of course, Jack Smith is going to have to answer for this. I'm already working on a letter to the DC bar, a complaint letter to file against him. He should be disbarred.
Well, let me ask you this, Senator.
He should be disbarred, but is that it? You're going to write a complaint letter over to the DC bar? You know what the DC bar is going to do with that, Marsha? Right in the shredder. Thank you for your letter. Going to use that as compost later. And for my parrots to poop on, because that's probably who's, over there at the DC bar. Lots of parrots, lots of poop, so they need a lot of shredding. So here's Josh Hawley. He said, Biden's FBI spied on my phone calls and they tracked my location. But they didn't stop there. They also targeted parents, pro-lifers, and 92 conservative organizations like the Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. We need a thorough investigation, and there needs to be prosecutions. Much better than a complaint to the D.C. bar and the parakeet poopers.
Senate Judiciary Committee member just stepped out of that hearing. What did you hear from Dan Bongino and the FBI last night on this?
Well, what I know, Bill, is that they targeted the DOJ, the Biden DOJ specifically targeted a group of us. They asked for our call records so they could see who we talked to, who called us. I believe also track our location over a period of days. This is outrageous. I mean, this is really unbelievable. It's blatantly unconstitutional. It's a violation of the First Amendment. It's a violation of the separation of powers. And it also goes to show you the extent to which the Biden administration was so corrupt, using the FBI to target their political enemies. And let's not forget, they didn't just do it to senators. They did it to school board parents who went and spoke up at those school board meetings. They did it to 92 conservative organizations, including Charlie Kirk's Turning Point USA. They tried to recruit spies into Catholic parishes. That's the kind of people we're dealing with here. Bill, we need a total investigation, a thorough investigation into everybody who was responsible, and I think there needs to be prosecutions.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so Josh Hawley, that's what we're talking about. So what will come next? Of course, we'll see. Senator Rand Paul was also talking about it. He said, Biden didn't stop here. They also spied on members of Congress. His TSA, the Transportation Security Agency, tracked everyday Americans, that's us, under quiet skies. When he was VP, he got the CIA to bury intel that made his family look bad. Now, this government is weaponization at its worst. Every American should be alarmed. We are, Rand. And Rand's been very consistent on this, criticizing FISA and more. Mike Lee has also been very critical of FISA. We're happy about that. Says your government takes money from taxpayers and then uses it to lie and to spy on law-abiding citizens because they hate Republicans. Unacceptable. It's a good reason to clip the wings of any agency involved. Man, could Congress actually do something to like scale back the FBI or the CIA or any one of these agencies? Is this what it's going to take to get them to do something? This wasn't the first time this happened. We can't assume it'll be the last. Congress must fix this. So I hope you're a part of Congress there, Mike Lee. We're looking forward to your efforts. So here's more. Senator Bill Hagerty was one of the people who got spied on by the Biden corrupt government. And here's what he said in response. Jack Smith, an illegitimate, illegally appointed U.S. attorney, tracked my private communications and those of my colleagues during this witch hunt to investigate POTUS. This is exactly the type of political weaponization of the federal government under Obama and Biden that Republicans and President Trump have been calling out for years. We will get to the bottom of this, but every American should be shocked to see what happened here. And we're happy that they're shocked too.
Senator Hagerty.
Thank you, Senator Johnson. And Chairman Grassley, thank you for your leadership in making this happen. This is an extraordinary revelation that just took place this afternoon. My colleagues and I found out, all of us Republicans, by the way, that we were placed under investigation by this FBI, under the Joe Biden FBI that was led, I presume, by Jack Smith and his predecessors. This isn't the first time that it's happened, though. Senator Johnson just mentioned this. I served on the Trump transition team in Trump Tower in 2016. Senator Blackburn was vice chair of the transition committee then, as were probably a dozen or more members of Congress. To think that we were surveilled by the Obama FBI. This corruption runs deep, and it's gone on for far too long. And the fact that it's happened here again, the fact that they are looking at our records in 2023, sitting members of the United States Senate. Again, the only thing that we have in common, the only thing in common in this entire list is that we're all Republicans. They've decided to come after us. This is as partisan as it gets. The FBI and the corruption that's running there has to be cleared out. Thank God we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino there. This has to be addressed. It has to be resolved. It needs to happen today.
All right, we want names of everybody involved. What was the pretext, the justification? What were they alleging? Oh, these Republican senators, they were texting with Steve Bannon or something, okay? Or Enrique Tarrio. They were Oath Keeper affiliates or something. What was it that justified them going and gobbling up their phones? Man, I've never seen them so mad. Our privates, we're senators. You can't do that to us. That's what we've been saying, punks. All right, anyways, all right, I gotta leave that one alone. But it's, it is horrific, and it happens to us. It happens to everybody. They just gobble it. Well, we need it because foreign terrorism or whatever. Lindsey Graham also said the same. From Crossfire Hurricane to Jack Smith spying on me and 7 other Republicans, the Obama and the Biden Justice Departments crossed every line. They weren't going to stop until President Trump and all of his allies were taken down. And this is a true statement from Lindsey. We watched it in real time.
You wonder why we're looking at Comey? Give me a break. Why are we looking at Comey? Because he ran an FBI and personally knew about exculpatory information and let it slide. How in the hell can 2 FBI agents interview a man man who says the document you're using against a sitting president to suggest he may be a Russian agent or Carter Page that is now no longer reliable. How does that not get to the court? Can you tell me how that doesn't get to the court? You can't, can you?
I can't, Senator, and I
Can
can't.
you tell me why my phone record?
Pam is laughing right here because, man, she's like, Lindsay's like on one, dude. You've never seen him this mad. They got my cell phone records. He's like, the hell happened? Super upset. And Pam, she can't even believe it.
When I'm the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, were sought by the Jack Smith agents. Why did they ask to know who I called and what I was doing from January 4th to the 7th? Can you tell me that?
No, Senator, and there were 8 senators in total.
Man, that was a nice enunciation on that word. Thank you, Pam. So here's more. Coach Tommy Tuberville also got spied on by the Biden lunatics. Says, I expected that countries like China and North Korea would go after me when I got to the Senate, but I never expected it would be my own country under Joe Biden tapping my cell phone. Here's the coach.
Well, they just briefed us, Larry. Dan Bongino came over, deputy of the FBI. We had all of us in the room. This is the first we've heard of it. Obviously, I figured we would be somehow breached by China or North Korea, but not by your own government. This is all about Donald Trump. I'm an ally of Donald Trump. I love this country. The Democratic Party, the Biden administration tried to destroy this country. They tried to keep intact and contact with their enemies, so to speak, which was people that love this country, such as me and the other senators. But this is outrageous. Our phone numbers were breached, but we do not know that if there any content was added in there. It's the investigation just started. This is out of control. It's going to get worse and worse. Again, I have nothing to hide, but Jack Smith, he has a lot to hide. He's trying to save his soul himself because he is deep into this, and he was trying to find some way to get out of it once he started going after President Trump.
Yeah, so the question is, how did they even get permission to go get this stuff? What was the approval process with the FBI? Hearing some that they went to a grand jury, hearing some that, didn't maybe go that far, and maybe they got it without a grand jury, and did a judge sign off on it? Did they have to meet a probable cause standard in order to tap this data? Or is it just like a simple procedural request? Because you can go get subpoenas for all sorts of stuff without having a grand jury vote on it. A judge will sign off on it, but you don't have to hey, I need this witness for what? My trial? Oh, all right, great. So you just need it. Here you go. Sign off on it. Judge signs off on it. What was the process? Didn't go to a FISA court, did it? And it may contain the content? Oh my goodness. Ron Johnson said, I also was just briefed by FBI Dan Bongino and the FBI. The Justice Department obtained call logs. So maybe not the content from 8 U.S. senators, including myself. We were surveilled simply for being Republicans. Okay, what was the pretext for it? What were they saying? Did they question the election? Did they campaign for Trump? Were they communicating with some other person like Sidney Powell or somebody who was in the kind of the middle of it? We were surveilled simply for being Republicans, or is it just that? This does not surprise me, but it should shock every American. What the Biden administration has done is an outrageous abuse of power. It is blatant political persecution. Wow. Those responsible must be held fully accountable. This is just incredible. Yeah. I mean, Ron Johnson, by the way, has been very good on all of the political persecution. So he's not saying anything that he wouldn't ordinarily say. He's defended Trump and against all of the weaponization for a long time. So he's consistent on this at least. Here is what Ron had to say. By now, it should be obvious that the Biden administration is posing a danger to our democracy, constitutional republic. Now, the latest example, Biden's FBI went on a fishing expedition and subpoenaed 9 of our records. Here's what he said on with Fox.
In my 10 years of investigating the FBI, dating back to the exoneration memo of James Comey for Hillary Clinton, the result of all those investigations, this doesn't surprise me. It should shock, it should outrage every American. Quite honestly, by now, it should be obvious to every American that it's not the Republicans that are a threat to our democracy. It's President Obama, it's President Biden, it's the radical leftists that have served and support them. This is outrageous, what has happened. We did not learn much. I appreciate the fact that, the director and Dan Bongino notified us of this and, briefed us. What we know is that this isn't exactly like the partisans that remain in the Justice Department and the FBI are voluntarily coming forward and confessing their crimes. This just happened to surface when the individual who initially got these records in applying for recertification to this CAS team listed this as an accomplishment. I'm proud of the fact that this particular agent subpoenaed 8 members of the Senate and 1 House member. So again, that either shows complete lack of knowledge on the part of that particular agent or such a cavalier attitude inside the agencies that just no big deal of just totally violating the separation of powers here and surveilling members of Congress and busting that separation of powers. I mean, this is, again, it should shock, it should outrage every American. It'll probably about shock and outrage about half of us. The other half are, again, just living in the daydream, quite honestly, believing what the Democrats tell them.
Well, many of them don't operate operate with a sense of ethics or morality. They are communist materialists who think that the ends justify the means no matter what. They're okay shooting and killing people. They want more dead fascists. They screech about this in their little videos in the aftermaths of heinous murder. And so what if the FBI weaponizes something? So what if anything happens, right? If the colleges brainwash people or there's crimes committed by the Biden crime family or whatever, doesn't matter as long as it furthers their political ideology. And so spying on Republican senators, they thought that they were going to win. The whole end game was they were going to win. And so there's not going to be any consequences to them because they would just inherit the power and then could cover it up on the back end. It is shocking. I mean, it's been shocking. We've been shocked here. It's like, okay, shocked again. I know we're shocked every day, but it's nice to see the senators meeting our level now. Welcome to the party, everybody. We're happy to have you here. So here's more from Josh Hawley. He says, we need a special prosecutor. Hopefully they appoint a real one. Who approved spying on U.S. senators? Great question. I want to know those names. They're all redacted. I'm sure it exists. Who signed off on Biden's FBI's anti-Catholic memo that targeted the Catholics? And who is behind the prosecution of Mark Houck? We need oversight hearings right now, and we need a special prosecutor, is what Hawley says in Congress today.
Here's what I think needs to happen. Madam Attorney General, I think we need a special prosecutor to be appointed whose sole responsibility will be to get to the bottom of what has happened in every instance that I have just named.
I'll volunteer.
I think we need to know exactly who approved the wiretaps from the United States
U.S.
senators.
appointed attorney.
Who knew about it? What agents were involved at DOJ or the FBI? I think we need to know exactly who signed off on the Catholic memo, the spying memo. Who was involved with it? How far did it go? I think we need to know exactly who authorized the prosecution of Mark Houck, who terrorized pro-lifers and tried to intimidate them. I think we need to know. And Mr. Chairman, this committee needs to do oversight hearings. We need to have thorough hearings into what has happened these last 4 years and this abuse that has now just been uncovered, because we have to ensure that it stops. As you just said, Attorney General Bondi, we have to ensure that it stops. This chapter in American history needs to come to a close, never to be opened again. The use of the most powerful law enforcement bodies in the world against ordinary citizens and political opponents must end once and for all. And we have a chance to do it, and it needs to be done with a thorough investigation, full transparency, and those who violated laws need to be prosecuted.
Yeah, and not many Democrats, if any, had anything to say about it because they're all okay as long as the government is being used to go after their opponents and make sure that they can win. They were hopeful, every one of them, that one of these Republicans could get knocked out. We'd find something bad. They'd get indicted, and then we could have another Democrat senator come in and take their position. So nice to see some response from the senators. Here's what the majority leader in the House, Senator and the leader, John Thune, had to say. All right, John, ball's in your court now, man. Drive this one home. I have grave concerns, all right, about a new report showing that the Biden-era FBI spied on Republican senators. And I fully support Senate committees getting to the bottom of this outrageous abuse of power and weaponization of the government. Thank you, John, for your very milquetoast statement there. Senator John Kennedy was asking Chuck Grassley about this, and he said, hey, Chuck, hopefully this doesn't take 24 years to get to the bottom of this. You know what I mean?
Okay, if civil suits are filed against the perpetrators at the FBI, will that facilitate your investigation?
Well, it's just been 24 hours since the FBI investigated on it. Please give me an opportunity to sort through all this.
Fair enough. I just don't want to wait 24 years to get an answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, we don't want to wait 24 years either. Look at that face, man. I can relate to that. I feel you, John. We'll keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do.